President Donald Trump and Prime Minister Justin Trudeau had dinner last night where they became victims of a photo bomber. Here's what happened. The two were seated at Mar-a-Lago at a dinner table with a lot of other dignitaries. You can see right there, there's President Trump in the middle, Justin Trudeau sitting on his right, and our good friend Mike Waltz, the brand new national security advisor, to his left. Mike Waltz's wife. There's Doug Burgum, the governor of North Dakota, soon to be the Secretary of the Interior with his wife, very attractive woman. And then right up front here, the guy who posted the photo, newly elected Senator Dave McCormick from Pennsylvania, with a woman that I assume is also his wife. I forget who this guy is over here, but that's Howard Lutnick, who's going to be the Secretary of Commerce. Now, this is very interesting because you have President Trump, our shared neighbor to the north, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, the Commerce Secretary, the Interior Secretary, and the National Security Advisor. It kind of gives you an idea as to what they were talking about over dinner. They were clearly talking about the border. They were talking about the national implications or the national security implications of the border. And, of course, the tariffs that Donald Trump threatened Canada with. Well, the most interesting thing about this photo is not just that Justin Trudeau dropped everything on a moment's notice to haul his Canadian cookies down to Mar-a-Lago at the behest of President Donald Trump, but while this photo was being taken, there was a young man right here between Mike Waltz and President Trump who decided to, I don't know, what is that? Is he going nana nana boo boo, stick your head in doo doo? Is he doing moose horns? Which, by the way, moose horns would be totally appropriate because Justin Trudeau is the Prime Minister of Canada. And, you know, in Canada, there's lots of moose, eh? How about a nice cold moose head, eh? We'll go beaver hunting and drink some moose head. And I'll get some poutine, eh? And watch the hockey game. That's what they do. That's what they do in Canada. But this meeting, by the way, I don't know who this kid is. I don't know who this kid is at all, but I hope he enjoyed his meal because I guarantee it's the last time his parents take him to Mar-a-Lago. They may actually have their membership revoked. I'm not really sure, but I do have to give this kid credit because I'm going to be honest with you. If I were that kid's age and I were in this particular position, that's exactly what I would have done myself. But the whole story of what happened Friday to get Justin, I almost said Timberlake, Justin, which by the way, Justin Timberlake would have been way more interesting to see at Mar-a-Lago. I know the whole story of what happened to get Justin Trudeau to this meeting with President Trump at Mar-a-Lago was fascinating. And as you may remember, it started last week when President Trump announced that he would levy a 25% tariff on Canada and Mexico. Why? Well, because we have an immigration problem. We have an immigration crisis. And yes, a lot of it is Joe Biden's fault and Kamala Harris's fault, and they exacerbated it, and they didn't do anything at all to help it. But at the same time, Mexico and Canada have been taking advantage of this border crisis for quite some time as well. In fact, about 4 years. And if you read this Breitbart article, it's very informative because what they describe is how we got to this point. Last week, I believe it was Monday or maybe Tuesday, President Trump went on Truth Social and said, I will levy a 25% tariff on Canada and Mexico until they, A, get their borders under control and stop the flow of illegal immigrants from Canada and Mexico into the United States, which neither of them seem to have a concern about. Why? Joe Biden didn't care. Why should they? And then, of course, there's the whole situation about these drugs coming in from China, namely fentanyl, which is one of the deadliest drugs we've ever encountered here as a country. He wants Canada's help. He wants Mexico's help. And he felt the best way to get their attention and get them to start doing something about it was to levy a 25% tariff. Well, he's right. It actually did help. Liberal Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau arrived in Palm Beach, Florida on Friday evening to meet with President-elect Donald Trump, according to the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation. The senior government sources told the outlet Trudeau's plane landed at the Palm Beach International Airport on Friday. Unnamed sources said Trudeau would dine with Trump at the former president's Mar-a-Lago estate and leave Florida the following morning. Trudeau was accompanied by Public Safety Minister Dominic LeBlanc, which means Dominic the White. I'm not saying it's racist. I'm just saying his name's Dominic the White. Trudeau's visit comes after Trump said on Monday that he plans to impose a 25% tariff until Mexico and Canada shut down their inflows of migrants and deadly drugs. Now, just the threat of the 25% tariff turned Canada into a tizzy. All 10 provinces were running around like chickens with their heads cut off, eh? And Justin Trudeau was fielding phone calls from all the ministers from all the different provinces. He was trying to make heads or tails of what President Trump was proposing and what they could do to stop it. And the media caught him. And here was his initial reaction. You can sense the panic in his voice.
Bonjour tout le monde. I had a good call with Donald Trump last night again. We obviously talked about laying out the facts, talking about how the intense and effective connections between our two countries flow back and forth. We talked about some of the challenges that we can work on together. It was a good call. This is something that we can do, laying out the facts, moving forward in constructive ways. This is a relationship that we know takes a certain amount of working on, and that's what we'll do. One of the really important things is that we be all pulling together on this. The Team Canada approach is what works. That's where, putting aside partisanship, that's where I reached out immediately to Doug Ford to agree with him that we would have a First Ministers meeting this week to talk about the United States. Talked with François Legault and some other premiers as well. There's work to do, but we know how to do it.
This guy is le petrified. He is le scared out of his le boots. This guy is somebody who knows that daddy's coming home and he's been running around taking advantage. He's been smoking weed in the back of the house and having his girlfriend sleep over. And now he's got to pay the piper, and the piper's name is President Donald Trump. In fact, in this Breitbart article, they mentioned that that phone call you just talked about. Leftist Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum Pardo held a press conference responding to the message on Tuesday in which she showed reporters a letter she sent to Trump. In it, Sheinbaum threatened to impose retaliatory tariffs and accused America of being the source of the migration and fentanyl problems. Trump announced on Wednesday that Sheinbaum agreed to halt migration into the United States and called their talk a wonderful conversation. Just had a wonderful conversation with the new president of Mexico, Claudia Sheinbaum Pardo. She has agreed to stop migration through Mexico and told the United States effectively closing our southern border, he said. We also talked about what can be done to stop the massive drug flow into the United States. So simply by saying, hey, I'm going to impose a tariff, Donald Trump has stopped the flow of illegal immigration from Mexico. That's all it took. Joe Biden never did it. Kamala Harris never did it. Justin Trudeau hopped on a plane. And I want you to, this is an important factor that we should not let go unrealized. Justin Trudeau left on a plane to fly 1,600 miles from Ottawa, or Ottawa, as they say it, all the way to West Palm Beach, Florida, where Mar-a-Lago is. Now, this is a 1,600-mile journey, or for our friends in Canada, 2,600 kilometers, eh? And he did this on a Friday night during Thanksgiving weekend, not the Canadian Thanksgiving, I know, but during the United States' celebration of Thanksgiving weekend. And he did it to meet with a guy who currently is not a politician, is not in political power, has not been sworn in. President Trump is President-elect Trump, and he's not at the White House. He's not at the Capitol building. He's at his country club in Florida. This is the place where he plays golf. This is the place where he celebrated with his family just a couple of hours beforehand. This is one of the most incredible, I would say, is one of the most incredible examples of sheer raw political power, that President Trump can beckon or threaten somebody and they hop on a plane and fly to Florida. They're the president's own personal residence to make sure that everything's a-okay, eh? And this threat of retaliatory tariffs, I don't believe Mexico or Canada will impose retaliatory tariffs. And if they do, great. That's even better for those of us here in the United States that have American-run businesses. Do you know how great it's going to be for our brewmasters and our maple syrup providers if we cut off the flow of maple syrup and beer imports from Canada? It's going to be a new golden age for Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and Vermont and New Hampshire. we can handle things on our own. So what if we don't get avocados from Mexico? We'll cut down on the guacamole. Cinco de Mayo may not be what it used to be, but the rest of the time, it's going to be fantastic. Now, we don't know if President Sheinbaum Pardo has been invited to Mar-a-Lago or is making the trip from Mexico to Mar-a-Lago. I imagine they'll probably discuss things via the phone. However, it is very interesting to see that with just one Truth Social post, President Trump can get the prime minister of one of the largest countries in the world to get off of his tuchus and come have dinner with him so that they could discuss trade. President Trump did say, I just had a very productive meeting with Prime Minister Justin Trudeau of Canada, where we discussed many important topics that will require both countries to work together to address, like the fentanyl and drug crisis that has decimated so many lives as a result of illegal immigration, fair trade deals that do not jeopardize American workers, and the massive trade deficit the U.S. has with Canada. I made it very clear that the United States will no longer sit idly by as our citizens become victims to the scourge of this drug epidemic caused mainly by the drug cartels and fentanyl pouring in from China. Too much death and hardship. Prime Minister Trudeau has made a commitment to work with us to end this terrible devastation of U.S. families. We also spoke about many other important topics like energy, trade, and the Arctic. All are vital issues that I will be addressing on my first days back in office and before. Listen, as somebody who was born in Canada, as somebody with relatives who live still in Canada, and as someone who was able to escape the communist dictatorship that is Justin Trudeau in Canada, actually, I came a long time before. I think I'm actually older than him. It is, this photo to me says everything, because people in Canada do not like Justin Trudeau. He's managed to hang on to power for 9 years, and that's about 8.5 years too long. He faces opposition, not just from the opposition party, but from his own party, and he could see the end of his prime ministership come in 2025, relinquishing power to the more conservative Pierre Poilievre. But having said all that, this iconic photo, this historic photo of this meeting between two great North American leaders is always going to be ingrained in my mind, not just for Justin Trudeau and his smarmy grin, not just for President Trump and his defiant smile, but for this kid and his moose ears in the background of the photo. The photo bomber of Mar-a-Lago. That's what I'm gonna, I don't know what his name is. His name could be Jerry. To me, he'll always be the photo bomber of Mar-a-Lago. Maybe I should say the Mar-a-Lago photo bomber. I'll work on that and I'll figure it out. BT Dubs, if you enjoyed this video, make sure you do both of us a favor and like, subscribe, and hit notifications, because I got more of these videos coming every single day. Plus, we go live noon Eastern, 1 Central, every day, Monday through Friday. So for more great content from Mark Kaye, that's me, and Mark Kaye Saves the Republic, like, subscribe, and set those notifications right now. Eh?